why would somebody say good morning girls to you if you weren't presenting as trans?
Because that's what I'm saying. That's how feminine I was.
So you
in
were
literally
feminine.
a school uniform, presenting as me, just like whatever, was perceived by the public as female.
Okay, so I believe that you can be a feminine, you can act feminine. That I totally believe.
It wasn't really acting because it was a visual response. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the lollipop ladies that I'm not sure if y'all have them in America, like with the sticks, like stop, go. So it wasn't like a act of me prancing or anything. It was just the visualization. It was the head,
And
basically.
I've grown up, well, just growing up, and I've had friends who were more feminine in class than
Yes.
you know, other you know, people. So we kind of could tell, you know what I mean, even at a young age, what people wanted to be and what people liked. But I still think even in liking and loving, pertaining to like the job at hand, the execution, being on time, making sure the work is done, I think that's what matters. And I think the privacy of like people's love and affection sometimes to me is TMI to the job at hand and to what we are and what we're all trying to accomplish in our goals. So
But I guess my question is, and I'm agreeing with you, actually, we're in radical agreement here because I've gone to school and I've seen boys that are feminine.
yeah, at a young
And
age.
I didn't graduate with a single trans person. Those people did not decide to go trans now. Obviously, there's been an explosion of the trans agenda. They were just gay.
Yeah,
And
very
so,
different.
so I would like to know, at what point did you go from just being a feminine boy to saying, no, actually, I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
And I am needing to change my life.
Yeah. So, like I stated before, it was always the internalized thought process, but just because of my intellect at the time, I didn't know the possibilities of how I could execute it. But the feelings were always there, and I guess that I was hoping when I got older, I would be able to gain more resources and more knowledge, and it could be possible to, you know, match the outside of how I was thinking. But I want to specify that there was gay people in my school, and like y'all both agreed on like feminine gays. And it's so interesting because, and these guys will probably hear this because they're still on my Facebook, but it was so interesting because even in little old Perth, Australia, they still identified and treated these gay boys in my class different to me. I was always on the outer. It was like they were the gays and I was the she. So even then, with no knowledge and no understanding, they were still being like, it's different, because these gay boys weren't like straight gays, as we call them. They were feminine gay boys, and I was the she. So like, you can imagine that if that was the perception, it was matching what I was feeling, but I just wasn't vocalizing it.
So when did you begin to vocalize that?
I vocalized it when I was 17. I was very blessed in my family that they allowed me to do grade 11 and 12 at Kingsway Christian College. I was kind of like at a point at the school that I went to that was really rough that I wanted to graduate, and my auntie and like my family were at a local church and they got me into that school, which was really prestigious and stuff. And, you know, I could knuckle down and do my studies and graduate. And throughout that time, and especially being around like devout Christians and going to church and doing Bible study and things like that, I just knew how I felt and knew what I needed to do. So it platformed from like literally legal age. So when I graduated in Australia, it falls on you becoming 18. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so Shan, I think you brought this up before when you was talking about the Overton window. Was that you who brought that up before? Yeah, so okay, well, with the Overton window, what it is,
but I know about it, but go ahead.
It's like a graph. So the first thing would be like an idea would be unthinkable, then it becomes radical, then it's implausible, then it's plausible, then it's policy, back to plausible, implausible, radical, and then unthinkable. So it's the ebb and flow of how ideas come about. I think we referenced this before, but I remember when the first person that was gay kissed someone on screen. It was the most radical thing that had been done. And now we have people saying that they should be able to take drag queens in to read
books for kids. Nah,
and
man.
before the age of reason is when ideas get implanted in people that are hard to remove.
Do you know the first movie that they used a cuss word? Anybody? The first movie,
Quite frankly, my dear, I just don't give a damn. Was that?
quite frankly, my dear, I just don't give a damn. When they said the word
I got
damn,
that right.
the whole world, everybody clutched their pearl. Did he say damn?
No way I got that right.
Hey,
That's
Sweeney,
correct.
you can get them cookies now.
Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind was the first movie, and the phrase was, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." And when they said "damn," nobody knew it was coming, and everybody was blown away. For instance, I Love Lucy. You guys know the TV show I Love Lucy with Lucille Ball.
The 2 beds.
They had to have
Two
two
beds.
beds originally. We know
Yep.
people didn't like trip. It's like, wait a minute, Lucille and Ricky Ricardo sleep in 2 different beds, because the idea of having a husband and wife on television in the same bed was unthinkable. You couldn't do that. And then 10 years into the series, when they finally did have them in the same bed, when they shot it, they had to have 1 foot on the floor. So when Ricky was asleep, he had to have 1 foot on the floor so the crew can see that. And Lucy had to have another foot on the other side on the floor. This is just so but now look at what we got. Now, listen to the radio, watch movie.
Our Empire, well, they cracking on screen.
That is exactly what Trev is talking about. That's exactly what Marcus is talking about. That's the Overton window.
Yep.
That is what Jumping the Shark means, created from the movie to TV show Happy Days. But I digress. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead. Oh, Shane. All right. So, yeah. So, damn, Shane, you derailed my point. I'll let you get it because I want to hear what you had to say, but you derailed my point. I think I was going with, in line with the minor attracted person thing. Imagine caring about the feelings of pedophiles. That's offensive to pedophiles. We should be castrating and issuing a death sentence for pedophilia. I get you haven't gotten a victim yet, but if you allow people to become the victims of pedophilia, it's almost like a disease, because it can, in some effects, it make that person prone to doing that same thing. And my heart and everything go out to every victim, and not all victims become abusers themselves, but the disease is transferred onto people. Now, some people become staunch advocates and fight against it harder than anybody you've ever seen. But it usually is be one of the two extremes. It's like gun violence. Once you see somebody get gun violence, you're either really against gun violence or you're on the extreme where we need to be able to retaliate. Most people don't just stay neutral when things that are major developmental things that change in how you interact with the world and everything around you. But if you implant the idea that it's okay to dress as a man as a woman or a woman as a man before the age of 5, when kids naturally like to play make-believe and pretend. The other day, me and my daughter, I was pulling her out of a lava pit and we was getting chased by a bear, and she just came in on the mop riding a broom. All of these things in her mind are happening because she's playing pretend. Imagine if I continued to say, yeah, every place is lava, and she somehow believed that was real and walked around and wouldn't touch the ground with her feet because she thought lava was there. You can implant ideas like that in children. They're extremely impressionable. That stuff is dangerous.
Real quick, Marcus, you just made a case for extreme gun control, but I'm gonna let you live.
Or the other side, right? When it affects you, you're on one side or the other. I'm saying it's extremely dangerous to do any gun control, really. But both cases make sense. I'm saying it affects you one way or the other. The way it affected me is saying I don't want no gun laws. I think everybody needs to be able to carry their pipe so they can survive. Somebody else might say nobody should have a gun ever. I'm on the far extreme. I think you should be able to have a machine. I think you should have everything you want. Silences, anything that you can get, I think you should be able to get.
So you need a silencer. Why do you need a silencer?
So my ears don't hurt while I'm practicing my aim.
Why not just get earmuffs? No, that's I'm gonna let you live, bro, because you just made a case for extreme gun control, but I'm gonna let you live.
Yeah.
This nigga says I can practice. He says I can practice without hurting my ears.
but yeah, no.
Have you ever shot a gun, Sweeney, without no ear protection? That shit is.
No, I
the
did
whole
not.
side of your face
But
be
I
red.
was at the gun range, right? And at first it was just me and my homeboy up in there, and we were shooting. And then some other guy came in there, but the entire time when it was just me and him, when we was reloading, because you couldn't reload at the thing. So while we was reloading, I took my my earmuffs off. Forgot there was another person in there with us. Man, I almost blew my pause. Shit hurt.
Yeah, no, you definitely never want to take your earmuffs off.
Ear protection off, yeah.
Yeah, that shit hurt. I ain't gonna lie.
I say get the like the little plugs instead, because they're easier to kind of maneuver. You know what I mean? And depending, it's been times I had to wear both. When we was cracking out the 50 Beowulf, I had
I think it's
outer protection.
I think it's less dangerous when you're out in the open, but when you in that room and that enclosed room and it's echoing off all the walls, it's a little more dangerous for you. But like outdoors,
the sound can't travel. That's gonna hurt.
But yeah, Trev, to answer your question though, the reason and Shan kind of already touched on it. That's the reason why we're talking about it so much, is for all the reasons that you were concerned about. Is because they trying to push it in our face. It's because they trying to force it on us. It's because they trying, like, wouldn't nobody care if they weren't trying to get into women's sports? Wouldn't nobody care if they weren't trying to gender, you know what I mean, reassign children? Wouldn't nobody care if they weren't trying to get into the women's bathrooms and vice versa? Wouldn't nobody care? But because y'all are trying to do all of these things all at once and trying to get laws passed, now we have to talk about it, because we're like, no, we draw the line here. Because I personally could give two craps what you believe, what you choose to be, right? As long as I don't have to participate in your delusion. And kind of ties in what Marcus was saying, is that his daughter plays pretend. So if she sees somebody, she say, oh, they're just pretending to be a woman. At least she can cognitively know that's a man pretending to be a woman. But when that person says, no, little girl, I am a woman, that's what we draw the line at. Because I shouldn't have to be the one that has to affirm how you feel about yourself. You can feel however you want to feel, but making me have to accept that and look at you as something that you're not is where we draw the line at. And also the argument about you being born this way, because I think that's where, like, even if it's just your feelings, I don't think that doesn't really protect you. But when somebody says I was born this way, that's the slippery slope, because a pedophile could say I was born this way.
There was a case in Canada where this father basically put up resistance from allowing the mother of his child to start to not actually physically go through the changes, but he didn't want to acknowledge that his son, either his son or his daughter, was the opposite. And essentially, with him putting up resistance against that between the mother and also the school that was trying to reinforce it, they imprisoned him because of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's
I'm sorry.
So there's that slippery slope where we're all acknowledging that if we okay this and let it slide, then what's going to happen 5 years from now? You know, and that's extremely dangerous.
I wonder if I could identify as the death penalty.
What you mean?
And what, you gonna impose it?
If I identify as it, then yeah. If I identify as the death penalty, then I'm just doing what's in my nature. If I smoke somebody for something they I think that they deserve to die for.
No, you're being a vigilante.
But I was born that way. I was born with the innate desire to smoke something when I think it needs to be smoked, and to stop me from doing that is wrong.
That's why you went the other way when you was 14, knowing that you could have went around the other way to school. You said, I'm gonna go through here because I'm a bad mother. Yeah.
So
y'all niggas like to cycle the clock.
The only thing. So I'm just trying to find the connection, right? Because as it is right now, there's no P in the alphabet right now, right? That's not included in it. I'm trying to see how we're making a direct connection to it. And is it even fair to make an assessment like that we feel like these
Trev,
guys
they
are
have
loading
been
up for?
They have been trying to push that though.
Yeah, they
who's
have.
the alphabet? You saying the alphabet crew has been trying to push PDF files right now?
No,
That's
but
what we
the
do?
PDF files are using the same language as the alphabet because they're saying if trans can say I was born this way or I'm free to identify as a thing, you have to accept it. Then I can say that I was born this way, and you have to accept it.
But I think they're a separate entity, right? I don't think that's something different, right? Because
not really.
Now well, yes, it is. I can tell you why it's different because you're actually hurting someone who is not willing to cooperate. That's abuse. You can't do that. That's different. Whereas consenting adults in the other instance are with other consenting adults. Now, to put that, like we always say, we don't want to put that jacket on somebody if it doesn't fit. I think we might be jumping the gun by conflating the two issues together because one is actual abuse against the law, and I don't see a direct connection. Even if these guys are trying to be down, that doesn't mean that they can just all of a sudden be abducted into the alphabet community because they want to do this. Because that
let me ask you this.
Wait, hold on, Law. Let me say this real quick. So I just
hold on. Y'all gotta let them finish. Y'all gotta let them finish. Both of y'all cutting them off.
Oh damn! I thought he was done.
You can go ahead. I'll respond to it. Go ahead.
so Trev, and I just looked it up to make sure that I have my facts straight. So there's a Kentucky Democrat, Senator. What's her name?
Look at Kenny. He was like
Senator Karen Berg. She said that that child sex dolls decrease the proclivity of pedophiles to go out and attack children. So she's basically backing that pedos should be able to freely have
access to live that fantasy out without
now listen. I think see that right there is debatable. I hate the entire idea of it. I hate that there are people who even think like that and have thoughts of children. But I wouldn't say, it could be looked at in two ways. Because if a person says, okay, this could possibly be a deterrent, right? I don't think we should support it in any way, but I don't think that's what the mindset of that person was in Kentucky. Because I wouldn't do that. Let's just get that straight first. But I don't think that was the frame of mind for that person. They probably had, which would be considered to me, and probably most of you on the panel, a radical idea to deter them from bothering actual children, to be able to get your disgusting urges out without involving or hurting another human being who doesn't deserve it. I think that's what their thought process was. I don't agree with that thought process, but I don't think that they were trying to do that to prime us to like, yeah, okay, let's get these guys more hyped so they can go get real children. That right there is just devious. And that could be the case, but I don't think that's as likely as them actually thinking that it was a deterrent. I hate the entire idea of it, or that we have to pacify it or whatever, but there's people who exist like that. And they probably were thinking, let's try to find a creative way to get these dudes to leave children alone versus trying to abuse them. I think that's what they were thinking.
Well, you know what's crazy to me? That they are trying to create minor attractive persons, and that men can become women, and that people can now, I guess, be transracial according to the election. But they haven't legalized polygamy. That's wild. I don't know. That's just
wow. But Trev, though, the issue with that is that even though that may be a deterrent at first, all that's going to do is feed into that urge for them to go and find the actual child that's going to respond. Because I'm sure at some point them doing whatever it is that they're doing with the doll is prepping them and preparing them to build up the confidence and say, you know what, I want the real thing. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. How about the men who are referred to as incels, right? Do you think that, let's just say, if they didn't have P-Hub and different things, or just nothing available to gratify themselves, do you think, or they just made it illegal to pleasure yourself? Do you think that people would just practice abstinence, or do you think that they would become barbaric and start wilding out?
Wait, so you're comparing someone making a choice to be celibate to
No. I said incel, meaning involuntary celibate, meaning that they have no way to be able to obtain women.
Okay.
They can't attract women at all, right?
Right,
But
right.
you got all these alternatives. You have OF, you got P-Hub, you got different things. Now let's just say they cannot self-soothe, right? At all.
Right.
Now, what do you think is more likely they would do? Let's say they cannot self-soothe at all, right? There's no outlets. Do you think that they are all of a sudden become max, or do you think that they may exhibit some bad behavior in the real world?
What we have seen is that those people will then go out and potentially a sex worker, or go and do the same thing to a random person that's walking down the street. I have this urge and I have to soothe it. I have to itch it. We see that we see it all the time.
So Viz, that actually supports my point that I was saying, because what I said was that they didn't have any alternative. Now they have the alternative, which is why they're not out here graping people, because they have the alternative. So that's the same logic that I'm using when I say if they have this thing that they can get their rocks off, however, without actually doing it on real people. And like I said, I hate the idea, and I would never be the dude to implement that. But I'm just saying that I don't think that that was the frame of mind the person had when they where they were trying to write that bill. I don't support it.
Trev, what you're doing is
that's where they were coming from.
You are creating the notion that incels are inherently evil men, and they're typically not. They just can't get women for whatever reason, whether they're not in proximity of them, whether they just ain't got no game, whether they just socially awkward, or whatever. What would happen though, because they have these alternatives like internet, like P-Hub and all these different things, and they can just get that off of their mind, get the sexual part off of their mind by themselves. What would happen if that all was something we was able to wave a wand and all of that stuff went away, which is not going to happen, right? So this is just a philosophical debate. But if that did happen, what would happen is they would level up. And that's hence the reason why a lot of people like Andrew Tate is trying to really get these people to say, hey man, put that stuff away, get rid of the porn, stop paying attention to all that cornball stuff, and you'll get the outcomes that you want, like a woman, if you were to do this. But because it's so easily accessible, and you have, you got P-Hub in high definition on your smartphone, and you can do it anywhere you want, then you're not going to do the effort, and because you're just an inherently lazy person. Remember, incels is something that people want to aspire to not become. You're not supposed to be an incel all your life. You're supposed to, you're supposed to have landed at becoming an incel, and damn, how did I get here? And what can I do to get out of here? And what happens is a lot of people become one, and then they just say, well, it's just easy to stay here. It's just easy because I can just, every morning I fire up P-Hub and, rub one out and just get my day going, go work the farm, and then I'm cool. I don't need to go and get fit. I don't need to make no money. I don't need to cut my hair. I don't need to lose weight. I don't need to, cut my fingernails or dress better. I don't need to do anything that's going to attract the other sex, because I could just do this. I could just take care of myself right here. If we got rid of what they can take care of themselves with, they would be forced, by and large, would be forced to go become better people to get the outcomes they want. It wouldn't be, oh, now I'm just going to go start taking it. I'm gonna just start assaulting women, and every chance, you know, next thing I know, just this huge rise of sexual assault is gonna start happening. That wouldn't happen.
I know I'm not saying that anybody's a monolith, right? Like this is not that's not what I'm going on. And I'm also not saying that people who are referred to as incels are inherently bad. But what I'm saying is we could take it to a whole lot of things. If you saw the series True Blood, right? They had the vampires who wouldn't attack people because they had this true blood, right? So it made a lot of vampires civilized, and they didn't have to hurt people.
True Blood was
good.
It
was. But you see what I'm saying? How it was now they still had some people out there that was going to do what they do, right? But it was able to reduce the number of human fatalities because they had something to kind of stop them, right? That I'm saying it in a scenario like that. So we could even take it away from people altogether. So now you see what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is that's where the frame of mind they had. I would never write a law like that. I wouldn't do that type of bill. I wouldn't support it in any way. I think it's radical, but I don't want anyone to think that they were being nefarious by creating that. They were probably trying to problem solve in a weird way. I think that's where they were coming from. But again, to be clear, I do not support that law, and I would have nothing to do with that. I just don't think they had ill intent.
I'll close with this on my end. I think that is their intention because of what it is that they're doing with the alphabet community now. So everything that we see, the progression that has been made, that I think that is just the way for them to slowly normalize it. Just like that scale that Marcus just pointed out, that's a way to slowly normalize and validate, to say, okay, well, these people where we can arguably say has a mental disorder, they'll now be placed in this category of where this is no longer a mental disorder. This is how this person is born. Right. And that's essentially the standpoint for Democrats. Just like old boy said, stay out of my house, out the hospital room, and all this other shit. So that's opening the door for it.